welcome to all of our viewers, and thank you for tuning in to the Turks and Caicos Islands Let's Move Health Talk Shows. I am your host, Tamika Handfield. I'm a registered dietitian with Nutrition in Demand, a nonprofit organization that's aimed at raising awareness to the importance of health and healthy eating. I am excited to be sitting and sharing with you in this show, as well as sharing with you in the many other shows that we have planned for you. It's going to be an exciting time. So we are excited to have you joining us. The objectives of these shows, these health talks, are one, to share current information and discuss benefits of optimal behaviors to develop and reinforce healthy lifestyle behaviors, to educate residents on establishing lifelong nutritional and fitness goals, to reduce risk of chronic disease among residents by helping viewers identify and avoid problematic behaviors, and to use the power of individual stories to understand, inspire, and improve the health in the TCI. So we would love to hear your feedback. So please feel free to write your questions and your comments in the comment section below, and we will try our very best to answer them to the best of our ability. And if we don't know the answer, we will say that and tell you that we will get back to you with the answer. Okay, so today joining me, we have Mrs. Lakeisha Wilson. She is the nutritionist with the Ministry of Health, but I will allow Lakeisha to introduce herself. So, hi, Lakeisha.
Hi, Tamika. It's a pleasure to see you again, even though it's on virtual.
Yes.
Yes, it's always a pleasure. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for agreeing to be our guest on this show, as we just talk a little bit about nutrition and the importance of nutrition and overall health. So before we get started, Lakeisha, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. Well, as you mentioned, I am nutritionist with the Ministry of Health, and I'm registered with the Allied Health Professions and Pharmacy Professions Council, Turks and Caicos Islands. And I received my Bachelor of Science in Clinical Dietetics and Nutrition from Georgia Southern University in Statesboro, Georgia. And I also received teacher training at Shorewood Teachers College in Kingston, Jamaica. Currently, I'm a certified lactation consultant and a food safety trainer. And I'm also a member of the Caribbean Association of Nutritionists and Dietitians. I am currently working with the Ministry of Health to assist in disease prevention and nutrition promotion programs, and also to help with the development of policies and protocols for various chronic diseases. Also help out with conducting nutrition training for students and professionals in health education and other sectors. A wide variety of activities, especially working along with the health promotion unit to help promote health in the Turks and Caicos Islands. So that basically summarizes in a nutshell what I do, but certainly not limited to what I do, right?
You sound very busy.
Sound very busy, but
yes.
What kind of busy? Because I enjoy what I do.
Yes, and that's the basics of it all. You know, as long as you enjoy what you do, it's not work at all, you know?
Exactly.
So Lakeisha, let's start with the basics. Let's just jump right in. Let's imagine I am a patient and I come to you and I say, I need help. My weight is out of control. Where do you start with me?
Hi, that is a very popular question.
Right.
I have so many persons that are just weight conscious. We're conscious about our weight and we're concerned about how we look. So that tends to be the number one question. And so basically, I always like to encourage my clients or patients. I always like to kind of boost them up. So they usually kind of feel really bad about a lot of their practices. So I try to like pull from them what are some of your good habits? What are some of the good things that you are currently doing? Let's see what you're doing that is actually good, and let's see how we can build on that. So first of all, we like to identify their healthy eating habits or healthy lifestyle practices, and then identify the unhealthy ones, and then see how we can work together to curtail them and try to come up with a so-called healthier living plan or healthier eating plan so that they can change their course and help to improve their health outcomes.
Right, right. And so using that method, what are the, I guess, the response? Are they likely to respond favorably to that or not so much?
Well, in general, they respond favorably, and they usually, when they come to me, they would have passed the pre-contemplation stage of
Right,
whether or not they really want help. So usually they want help and they want to make a change. So they're interested in the um, learning or finding out more of what they can do to help to bring about that change. So I would say that they are fully compliant and willing to go ahead with the suggestions and the ideas that I put forward.
right.
And we usually are able to take it from there together.
Okay. So what are some tools then that I can expect you to help me with then?
All right, well, first of all, as a nutritionist, we want to help you to recognize that food is not the enemy, and
Right,
food is your friend in the sense that we are what we eat, and our health is our wealth, and what we put into our bodies is what we're going to get out. So we want to empower that person to understand the basic principles of nutrition. So you give them the basic concept or understanding of food groups and meal planning, portion control, all of the things that help to allow you to be able to make healthier choices, how to read a food label, how to go about doing your grocery shopping, where should you, when you enter the grocery store, exactly where should you enter in the aisle? Should you go to the left, the right? Should you go to the can section? Should you go to the produce section? What should you be looking for in that section?
right.
And all of those details. So it is pretty detailed. And I actually, a first counseling session could possibly last from 30 minutes to an hour, depending. But usually we just like to kind of brainstorm all of those things and see how we can work together to help that person.
And I'm glad that you mentioned, Lakeisha, that food is not the enemy, because one thing that I also hear a lot is good and bad foods, right? And I understand the idea that's behind good and bad foods, but one thing that I like to tell my clients or my patients is that, you know, let's not look at food as good or bad. Let's try saying something like healthy versus unhealthy or not so healthy, right? Because when you think of something that's bad, like a bad person, like it conjures up different connotations,
Yeah.
and then
Negative connotations, yes.
right, right. And so when you think of, like, say for example, you call ice cream bad, right? And you want ice cream and you eat ice cream, then you have all of these guilty feelings going on in the back of your mind because you're feeling like you're doing something bad, right? Instead of just enjoying the moment and enjoying some ice cream. So I like to tell people that, it's not really good or bad. It's healthy versus unhealthy or not so healthy. And then the other thing that I normally do with children when I talking with children is I use like the stoplights, right? Like the the slow go and whoa foods. So of course the whoa foods would be like the red light. Slow foods would be the foods like the yellow light, so that you kind of have, sometimes you can enjoy those foods sometimes. And then of course the go foods would be the fruits and the vegetables and so forth that we want them to learn to love and to appreciate.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
It's just using different tactics, you know. So I like that you say food is not the enemy, because I think sometimes we develop a unhealthy relationship with food.
Exactly.
So on that same point,
Yes.
how do you help your patients to develop a healthier relationship with food if they do come to you and you realize that they have an unhealthy relationship with food?
All right. So persons who tend to have an unhealthy relationship with food, it has a lot to do with their food experiences. What
Mm-hmm.
kind of experiences they've had with food in the past that is actually contributing to these, unhealthy habits. And so I definitely would have to do more of a food recall or food history or food questionnaire to dig to the very root of the problem. All
Right.
right. And once we establish the very root of the problem, then we're able to come up with a plan of action on how we're going to sort of um, introduce healthier options. So if we're looking at the various food groups, for example, I would help to advise them on the healthier options for each of those various food groups so that they are better able to make more healthier choices.
Right. And I think it's important, Lakeisha, to note here that we are talking in this particular episode, we're talking mainly about the basics of nutrition and weight loss. So we're not talking for a specific chronic disease, like, for example, hypertension or diabetes. So this specific episode is really on the basics of nutrition and weight loss. So you mentioned a little bit earlier the food groups as one of the tools that you would use when you have somebody who comes in and they're interested in weight loss. So let's talk a little bit more about what the basic food groups are. And then if you can give a few examples of each food that's in each food group.
Okay, so because we're in the Caribbean, I'm going to focus more on the way we discuss food groups here in the Caribbean. So
Yes.
the Caribbean, we talk about the 6 food groups. And all school children, they can tell you about the 6 food groups. What
Right.
are the 6 food groups? Well, well, what is a food group? A food group is a collection of foods that share similar nutritional properties or biological classifications. Now that sounds big and
Mm-hmm.
kind of high and falutin, but it's simple. All right. And we need to have a general understanding of all of the food groups so we can understand how to plan our meals, how to combine certain foods so that we could be able to get the optimal nutrition out
Right.
of out of our meals. Because it's not just about eating foods for the sake of eating it. You're eating with an intention. Your eating should be intentional. Your eating should be with purpose. Your eating should be with this goal in mind that I'm consuming various food groups because they are going to give me certain nutrients. And these nutrients are in turn are going to affect some kind of positive outcome. And if it's in the case of unhealthier foods, then it will cause some negative outcome or negative health implications. So the 6 food groups are the staples, starches, or carbohydrates. That's one broad group. So we have the staple group. And we also use the term starches to affiliate with this group or carbohydrates. And this food group is the group that, like Tamika mentioned, she would talk about the go foods, the grow foods, the glow foods. So this is the go foods group. And this is the group that we recommend that you have the largest consumption of in terms of calories because it provides the body with energy and that energy is going to be utilized to help fuel your body and help you to be able to do all of your activities, your work, your play, and also to help the cells to be fully energized. All right, so it is a very important nutrient. And that is one of the reasons why, as a nutritionist, I never ever recommend persons to exclude any one particular food group because each and every food group is vital and important in its own right. All right.
Yes.
Every
Absolutely.
food group have to stay in their lane, stay in their league, and just
Absolutely.
supposed to do. Okay, so persons out there who have been strong on practicing elimination diets where they're cutting out and cutting out and cutting out. Every food has its place, and as we continue to talk, you will realize that every food has its place. So moving right along.
Let me just stop you right here, Lakeisha.
Yes.
I'm glad that we're talking about carbohydrates first, right? We will continue on, of course, with the various different other food groups, but I want to let's dive a little deeper here into carbohydrates, because carbohydrates, they are one of the food groups that get the worst reputation.
Mm-hmm.
They get the worst reputation, and you hear people talking about, oh, I'm not having bread, I'm not having potatoes, I'm not having any other food that they think has carbohydrate because they want to lose weight, and oh, carbs are bad for you. That's one that I hear a lot. Carbs are bad for you.
Yes.
Is that true? One, is that true? And two, you were mentioning just now that you never recommend that people cut out various food groups. Why?
Okay, so carbs, they are good. They have a role to play, and we should not eliminate them from our diet, period. They are good because they supply the diet with a good source of energy, right? And it also is a good source of that what we would call fiber or dietary fiber, lots of minerals and the B vitamins. So we need all of those nutrients, those vitamins, those minerals. We need all of them to help us to be able to function effectively. So by no means are we to eliminate it. And why we shouldn't eliminate? We should not practice the process of eliminating carbs, because we need carbs to complete the metabolic cycle. We need carbs very much so, and more so, and it should never by any means be eliminated.
Right. And I think it's also important to add here that there are some organs in the body that depend solely or prefer, its preference for energy would be carbohydrates, right?
Right.
One of those organs in the body is our brain. So our brain has a preference for carbs. Like the food that we eat, as Lakeisha has been explaining, the food that we eat is broken down into energy. And that energy helps the body to breathe, to sleep, to think, to be active, to run, to do whatever you're doing. Whatever you're doing, that energy comes from the food that you eat. And the brain is one of those organs that prefers to have its energy source to be carbohydrates. So this is one of the main reasons why people like Lakeisha and myself never recommend that people cut out food groups, especially carbohydrates.
Especially carbohydrates. And carbohydrates are also very important because they do supply us with fiber. And fiber is a very important nutrient in our diet, because we need it in order to help us with the digestion process, helping us to be able to get that roughage that we need to allow us to be able to have good regular bowel movement, to help reduce constipation. And also it helps to lower cholesterol.
Yes.
That you're going to get from the whole grains, which is a part of the carbohydrate or the starchy group. You will definitely, you can get it from fruits and vegetables, but you can really get a good source of fiber from your whole grains. And as a matter of fact, persons should aim to make at least half of their grains whole grains. And whole grains mean that if you're looking at your loaf of bread or your box of cereal, it should not be just giving you 1 gram of fiber per serving. 1 gram of fiber per serving is insignificant and cannot have any, or it can have very little impact on your dietary fiber intake, which should be about 25 to 30 grams for the adults for the day. So you should be ensuring that you're looking on your labels for at least 3 to 4 grams, a minimum of 3 to 4 grams per serving of fiber on your whole grain products, whether it's pasta, rice, potato, what's up? Not rice. Yes, rice,
Right.
pastas, and your cereals, right? So definitely read your labels and make sure you're not just buying fancy in terms of packaging, but you're buying quality in terms of what you're getting.
Right, right, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit more about we talk a little bit about the whole grains. Let's talk a bit
Yeah.
more about some other foods that may be included in the carbohydrate or staples food.
All right. So you also have the dairy group, believe it or not, that is included in the carbohydrate group. And
Right.
you're talking about your milk, because milk contains lactose, and lactose is a type of sugar. So
Hmm.
some persons may not affiliate milk as a carb, but it can be considered a carb. So you also want to make sure that you keep that in mind when you're doing your meal planning, especially in the case of a diabetic, when they're counting carbs or trying to balance their diet. They want to make sure that they have adequate carbs and not excess carbs, which can affect the blood glucose levels. And then you have simple sugars. That would be your cakes and cookies and pies and all of the things that are quickly or readily digested. They are packaged and processed and refined, and they are quickly broken down into sugar, and they're readily or easily absorbed into the bloodstream. So these are what we would consider to be the unhealthier types of carbohydrates. And in that case, we would want to limit these or avoid regular consumption of these, because as we mentioned, as Tamika and I mentioned from the very onset, it's not about um, having a starvation diet or elimination diet or not being able to enjoy foods, but you want to make sure everything is done in moderation.
Absolutely. That's key, and I want our viewers to remember that word, because we're going to be talking a bit more about that in an upcoming show, moderation, because I think that's where a lot of us go wrong sometimes. And maybe one of the reasons why, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Lakeisha, I think this is one of the reasons why carbs get such a bad reputation because um, locally, we don't know how to moderately eat carbohydrates, right?
We do. We have what we call portion distortion of carbs in,
Yes,
in the Turks and Caicos. We
yes, yes.
And when we show our true colors on Sundays, when we have the mac
Oh,
and cheese and potato salad, and we still have peas and rice, you understand? And we just overload it. We
yes,
overload. So
yes.
we have to learn how to just be a little bit moderate. And I like to encourage persons to use the plate method, because
Yes,
the plate method, as you know, Tamika, is a very simple way for us to just bring about balance without
yes.
having to bring out the measuring cups and spoons. And you can also use your hands. You can use your thumbs. You can use your hands and your thumb to help you. You could use your fists. So using the plate method, which is simply dividing your plate into half, make one half your fruits and vegetables, or
Mhm.
if you choose, you can use all vegetables. You can have cooked vegetable dish and raw vegetable dish on that plate. And then the other half, you want to simply divide it into quarters. Make one quarter your protein and the other quarter your starch. And that will give you a quick and easy way on how to ensure that you're having balance with your meals.
Right, right. And welcome back to our show. We are sitting and talking with the Ministry of Health nutritionist, Mrs. Lakeisha Wilson, and she has been just sharing a wealth of information. Please remember to drop your questions or comments in the comment section below, and we would do our best to get back to you with an answer. And if we can't answer right away, then we definitely will go research the answer and get back to you with it. We are not faking that we know it all. All we're trying to do is just share some information with you to hopefully help you, on the journey. As we know, we always set healthy, lofty resolutions in the beginning of the year, and research has shown that one of those healthy goals tend to be weight loss. And so with the TCI Let's Move campaign, these health shows, we are going to help you with that and give you the scientific proven way of how you can lose weight and keep it off. So, Lakeisha, before we went to the break, we were talking about the food groups, and we got to talk about the carbohydrate groups. And we were just kind of breaking down some of the myths that's associated with carbohydrates. We hear that they're bad for you, they make you gain weight, and so forth. And so we are going to continue on with the various food groups. So we talked about carbs. What are the other food groups that you normally tell your patients about?
All right, so moving on to the vegetable group, which provides, again, it will provide the body or the diet with a good source of fiber and help to aid in digestion. And they're also rich in a lot of vitamins and minerals, and specifically vitamins A, vitamin C, B, the B complex, a host on a variety of vitamins, phytonutrients, antioxidants. They are our glow foods. They help to make our skin look healthy, fresh, and clean. And so they should be readily included in the diet. We should use them liberally. We should use them in abundance. They should be our go-to foods. And specifically when we're doing our grocery shopping, we need to head to the produce section of the aisles first so that we can get all the goodies, all of the fresh greens and fresh produce. And I know persons like to say, hey, they're so expensive. Well, I too have to shop, and I do understand that they are expensive. However, you can still get healthy fruits and vegetables. You can still get your vegetables and you can still get them at a reasonable price, and you don't have to exclude them in your diet because you cannot afford them. You can purchase cabbage. Cabbage is usually very inexpensive. You can purchase iceberg lettuce. It's usually the most affordable. And you can do a variety of dishes with your cabbage. I mean, you could have cabbage almost any way you like it. And there is literally no excuse. Even if you cannot afford to get the more expensive greens, you can still get the a little bit more affordable ones, and you can still get your fiber. You can still get all of your vitamins and minerals and antioxidants that you need to help ensure that you have a balanced diet. And this is not just so that your plate looks pretty and colorful. And that's great because we want our food to look attractive. We want it to have a variety of texture, okay? But we also want to make sure that we are getting in those vitamins and minerals that are going to chase away all of the chronic diseases that we are trying to evade. That is why we're eating intentionally and we're eating with purpose. Fruits. Fruit is
before you go on to the fruit group, right? I have to agree that a lot of people say that fruits and vegetables are super expensive. Let's give them just a few tips, if you would, on maybe how they can afford to buy more fruits and vegetables.
Okay. Well, one thing you can do is you can buy in bulk. You can buy, instead of buying canned that tend to be in smaller serving sizes, you can buy those that are dried and packaged, and you can basically get so much more out of a pack of peas as opposed to a can of peas.
Right.
Yeah. So and if you happen to buy those lentils and legumes, those sorts of things, a little bit more in bulk, then and dried versions, then you're able to maximize, and they're usually more affordable. All right, you get a higher yield for a lesser price, and you are able to extend the use of it for a longer time. And
Right.
also, when you open the can, you have to worry about whether you're going to use all of those contents at one time, or if you're going to discard it. So in the case of the bag of peas or beans or whatever, you know that you can always just pour the amount that you want and reserve the rest. All right. So you always want to focus on bulk buying. Bulk buying is economical, and it's a sure way for you to ensure that you're getting more for your dollar. Yeah.
And in terms of also, like, I know you were going to the fruit groups right now, but also like for fruits, I know fruits tend to go badly kind of quickly sometimes. So
Yes.
what you can do is you can freeze it, right? So you can freeze it and then you can use it again in smoothies or whatever. You know, it doesn't really matter if you're drinking the fruit or whether you're eating the fruit, as long as your body is getting the nutrients from the fruit. That's what's important. And then I know also the supermarkets, they have pre-packaged frozen foods, so you can buy those as well instead of buying the fresh one that you may find that goes quickly, goes bad, quickly. So those are just some tips that you can use and options that you can use to help you to not spend as much money at the grocery store when you're buying your fruits and vegetables. But I want to say also, they may be more expensive, but if we don't spend the money now to buy the fruits, we're going to spend the money somehow down the line, whether it's to the doctors, to improve our health. So it's important that we focus on our health and the importance of having good health.
Exactly. I'm glad you mentioned that. It's either we're going to spend it at the pharmacy,
Yep.
for medication, or we spend it at the grocery store.
Yep. Yep.
So, look at your food as medicine, as a prescription for health, as your way to really control your health destiny.
Yes. Yes, it's very important. Yeah, so fruits, Lakeisha.
Yeah, so fruits, it's a delicious way to add a variety of vitamins and minerals to your diet. Who doesn't like fruits? Well, most people like fruits.
Yes.
It's easier to get the kids to eat the fruits than it is to get them to eat the vegetables. So I like to encourage my patients to have a bowl of fruit lying around the house so that the kids, especially, they can just grab them and ensure that they're getting their recommended serving of fruits for the day. Because it's so easy for us to go about our lives and get so busy. And by the end of the day, we don't realize that we haven't had our fruit today. And so, fruits are very, very important. They supply the diet with vitamin A, vitamin C, E, B complex, minerals, fiber, antioxidants, phytonutrients. The list goes on.
The list goes on and on.
They are good. They are good for us. And God he knew exactly what he was doing when he gave us fruits and vegetables. So don't cop out on your fruits. Don't treat it as a second-class citizen. Don't treat it as something that you don't necessarily need. Like, long as I get my rice and my chicken, I'm good to go. No, you need to rethink that, and you need to come again. And you need to make sure that you're having fruits on a daily basis. All right, this is going to help with reducing an inflammatory response in your body, helping your cells and nourishing them, bathing them, giving them exactly what they need so that they can flourish and so that you can flourish and so that you can be your best you on a daily basis. Legumes. Legumes, these are a rich source of protein, and they also contain fats, and they're loaded with fiber and other vitamins and minerals. So don't forget to include legumes. And of course,
what do you mean when you talk about legumes? Yeah.
Yes. Food sources of legumes. That would be your peas and beans and all of those chickpeas that some of our Guyanese that live amongst us tend to consume large amounts of it, and it's really good. And so try
I love
to,
it, Chana.
yes, yes. They try to step outside of the box, and maybe one day of the week you can do a meatless Wednesday, you can call it, and you can have the legumes as a substitute for animal protein. And this is a good way to help cut back on animal sources of protein, which tend to have higher amounts of fat, depending on which protein option you choose.
Right.
Foods from animals. They contain protein. Yes, they contain protein, and these proteins are actually the building blocks of our bodies. And these building blocks, we call them amino acids. And these amino acids, the body does not make them. We can only supply it by the diet. So they are essential to our body. So we have to consume a good amount of healthy protein on a regular basis so that we are getting in these essential amino acids, which are the building blocks of life. And they're going to help you to build strong bones and teeth. And they're going to help to supply the diet with a good amount of vitamins and minerals, again, a good source of iron. And this tends to be something that is lacking a lot in our diets for some reason, especially in our women and our teens, and even in our younger children. Sometimes they tend to be iron deficient and no one really notices. So one of the things that you can look for at home, just running off a little bit here, but as a parent, you want to check that child out and observe whether or not this child is actually having pale skin, if they have moon-shaped fingernails, if they have little white patches on the nails, or you could also kind of pull down their eyelids.
Yes.
Yes, that's a really good indicator, and check to see the level of the pinkness or the paleness of it. And that also helps you to be your own little health screener, to monitor them and know whether or not they are eating adequate amounts. Because a lot of times, these little ones, they tend to shy away from certain foods. Mm-hmm. Those foods that are foods from animals, they don't necessarily like the taste, or is not palatable for them. They have difficulty chewing it, swallowing it. They don't like the way it looks. There's so many reasons. And so they might shy away from these foods. So as the meal planner of the home, or the person who's responsible for making sure that everybody gets healthy, balanced meals, you have to be cognizant of all of these things and ensuring that everybody in the household is getting adequate amounts of protein. All right. And the last group, but not the least, is fats and oils. And
wait, hold on. You're telling me that fats have a group as well?
Oh yes, fats have a group.
So fats, just like fats and like carbohydrate go hand in hand sometimes, like they get this bad reputation that, oh, stay away from them. You can't have them. They're so bad for you. So please tell us about this fat group.
Yes, the fats and oils group, it has gotten a bad rap, and it has been categorized as a group that you want to stay away from. Mm-hmm. And as a matter of fact, it's usually at the bottom of the food pyramid. At the top, the food pyramid, where it's the skinniest and the least. And that's understandable, but we also have to recognize that fat does supply the diet with a rich source of energy. Mm-hmm. Okay. And that energy usually helps to keep us full and satisfied longer. So that is one of the good benefits. And it also helps to cushion it helps to cushion those vital organs. All right. So it also is going to help with the fat soluble vitamins, mm-hmm. like A, D, E, and K, to facilitate absorption of these vitamins, because without it, those vitamins would not be bioavailable or won't be able to be utilized by the body. So they perform a very specific role. They also help with the cell integrity, helping to maintain the integrity of the cell. And we have to recognize that, as we mentioned from the beginning, every single food group has a role to play, and fats should not be shunned upon. because they are very essential and important. As I mentioned, the fat-soluble vitamins, you're not able to digest fat properly if you don't have them. So you need it in the diet. The important thing is for us to recognize the good oils or the good fats and the unhealthy fats. And I want
before you go into that,
okay.
I
Yeah.
want to let's hold off. We'll take a quick break. I want us to come back so that we can hear what those healthy versus not so healthy fats and oils are. But remember, please write your comments, write your questions. If you have questions or comments, write them in the comment section below. And we would love to hear from you. That's the whole idea behind these shows, that we answer your questions. We want to be as informative as possible. So if you have questions or comments, please write them in the comment section below, and we would do our best to get back to you with a factual answer. And welcome back to the Turks and Caicos Islands Let's Move health shows. We are sitting and talking with nutritionist Mrs. Lakeisha Wilson. She has been sharing tons of information. So if you know somebody who would love to hear more about nutrition and how they can use it to either lose weight or just better their overall health, please tell them now. Go on your phone, WhatsApp them. You know, we always on our phone. WhatsApp them, send them a text message, send them a DM, something, slide in their DMs, do whatever you have to do. Let them know that TCI Let's Move health talk shows are on, and they are sharing a wealth of information that can help everyone. So go get your friend, call somebody, and tell them that we are on. Lakeisha, before we went to our quick break, you were telling us about the healthy versus not so healthy fats, and you were just going to start to share with us what some of those foods are versus the ones that are not so healthy. But I want to, before we go there, I want to just reiterate the importance of good fats in our diet, because you mentioned there are some fat soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K. They are fat soluble, which means that they need to have fat for the body to absorb them. If there's no fat in the diet, then all you're doing is just kind of putting it out. You're eating it and it's going out into the toilet. I'm sorry if that sounds gross, but that's what's happening. Your body is not getting any help from those nutrients. So it's important that we understand, how food works, and how it's digested, and then how it works to help our bodies. Because as Lakeisha mentioned from the beginning of the show, we are what we eat, right? So our bodies and our cells are basically made up of the food that we eat. So we have to get into the practice of feeding it healthy foods that can help us to grow and to live longer, right? So yes, tell us about those healthy versus not so healthy fats.
All right. So like you mentioned, fats have been getting a bad rap, but they are healthier fats. They are healthy fats and they are unhealthy fats. And here in the Turks and Caicos, we tend to notice that in the grocery stores, we see a constant marketing or a push to purchase a certain type of fats or oils. Mm-hmm. We see vegetable oils, like right at the front of the aisle. It's readily available. It's always on sale. And that's mostly what people buy. Honestly, that's mostly what my clients tell me that they use until they have to be converted. So vegetable oils, corn oil, these are what we call unhealthier types of oils. And I'm sorry to say, but canola oil is not actually as healthy as we thought it was. Science and research is now showing us that it is not necessarily a good option or the best option. So corn oil, vegetable oil, canola oil, these are to be used the least, or they are unhealthier oil options. Shortening or lard, soybean oil. Yes.
Can I insert something
Yes.
really fast? When you compare vegetable oil with shortening or butter, where do they compare?
The comparison in terms of nutrition?
Yeah.
I probably would say maybe shortening is better. I'm not sure. I guess it all depends, because if you look at vegetable oil is a plant source of oil, and you do have some of them that are polyunsaturated. So it might not be as high on the inflammatory scale or oxidation. Shortening is animal source. It's how to describe it. Honestly, I'm not 100% certain how I would categorize it. I know that all of them are unhealthier options. How do you see it?
I usually tell my patients that when we're looking for fats, we want to prefer plant sources of oils over animal sources.
Because animal sources,
yeah,
right.
Because as we said before, animal sources are higher in the fats that can cause the arteries and so forth, right?
Saturated fats.
Heart disease and so forth. So I prefer patients to use vegetable sources of oils because they have less cholesterol. Well, they have no cholesterol, as a matter of fact. So when you compare them to animal sources, which are high in cholesterol and which of course can lead to like heart disease, then I prefer that they use the vegetable-based sources.
Right, and so that would certainly make more sense to go with those with the vegetable origin as opposed to the animal origin.
Yeah.
Yes. So like in the case of a soybean oil, if you had to choose between the soybean oil and the shortening, you would choose the soybean oil. And source, zero cholesterol, right, as opposed to shortening with cholesterol.
Right.
So that's yes.
And that's how I tend to help them to make the selection
right,
in terms of oils. And then the other way I tend to use is to look at what is solid at room temperature.
Exactly. I was about to say that. Yes.
Versus what is liquid, right? Because here's the thing. When that fat is solid at room temperature, it means it's cold, right? So when it gets to our body, it's going to do the same thing, right? So even though, for example, let's look at butter or shortening, right? When you heat it up, it becomes liquid. But when it's cooled down, it goes back to being solid, right? So that same thing happens in our arteries, right? When you eat too much of those foods, it turns solid. And the arteries are not made to transport solid. They're made to transport liquids, right? So
exactly.
And this is what leads to strokes and heart disease, because when our arteries become blocked by those solids, then blood can't flow to them, right?
Right.
So we end up having more problems in the future. So that's one way I tend to, educate patients on the healthier ones versus the not so healthier ones. Avocado has been getting a lot of attention. Talk about that.
Well, I actually have avocado. When it comes to avocado, that is on my healthy fats.
Yes.
That is healthy fats list. Olive oil is on my healthy fats list. Nuts is on my healthy fats list. Salmon is on my healthy fats list because it is high in omega-3 fatty acids, essential fatty acids, good fats. And believe it or not, coconut oil has been getting a bad rap. But coconut oil is actually a healthy fat. It's a healthy oil, and it is very nutritious. And if you look at it in terms of Comparing it to olive oil, it's basically on the same level. And it has what is called lauric acid, and it has medium chain triglycerides, MCTs, medium chain triglycerides. And these help to reduce an inflammatory response in the body. And these help with good digestion of your food, and it helps to keep you feeling full longer. So these are good, healthier options for fats, and you do not have to eliminate fat in your diet. And if you look at the way the Mediterranean diet, or persons that consume a Mediterranean diet, those persons in Italy and France, they consume large amounts of
Yes.
first cold press extra virgin olive oil. I didn't say they consume large amounts of olive oil. What did I say? I said they consume large amounts of first cold press extra virgin olive oil. Right, Tamika?
Yes.
Right. So that makes a difference. That means that you're getting the good stuff. You're getting the best of the best. And you're getting a nutrient-dense source of fat that is going to supply the diet with exactly what you're looking for. And don't be fooled by picking up any old bottle of olive oil either. Right, Tamika? It's the difference, right? Because if you happen to purchase just any old bottle because of the price, you might not be getting what you hope you are getting in the bottle.
You're paying for.
Yes, yeah, right. So it makes sense to make sure that you're getting one that's in a glass container that is kind of opaque and kind of hides the light so that it doesn't shine, the sunlight doesn't hit it and cause rapid oxidation. And oils tends to go rancid, so it's exposed to a lot of sunlight, then your oil might go bad very quickly. So think about those things. Don't purchase your olive oil in plastic bottles, because it ain't good and it's not going to do you any good.
Right, right. Well, guys, we have been talking a lot about the food groups, and I'm hoping by now that you are seeing the importance of eating all of the various foods and not cutting out various food groups. Because when Lakeisha was talking about the proteins, I had a thought and I wanted to ask a question, but I didn't want to interrupt again. The proteins, and she talked about how the proteins help with our bodies in repair, and they're the building blocks of our bodies. We have a lot of people now who are on a quest to eat healthier, and that's great. And so one of the first things they do is they eliminate meat from their diet, or animal foods from their diet, and they go vegetarian. And some people go even a step further. They go vegan, which is a bit more strict than vegetarian. And that's not inherently bad in itself. That's not a bad thing. But I hope you would have seen from what we've been talking about so far that it is important to get professional help when you are making those kinds of switches or those kinds of decisions in your eating habits. Because food is just not food. Food provides the body with nutrients, with various nutrients. And so if you're going to be eliminating one food group, then that means that you are going to be eliminating the nutrient or the nutrients that that particular food group provides. And so you need to come up with alternative sources then of foods that will provide the body with the same nutrients that that particular food group that you eliminate is going to be providing, right? I'm not sure that makes sense, but I'm hoping it comes across as
yes,
easily understandable, right? So it's important that you get help, professional help, from somebody who knows what they're doing, and somebody who can help you in making those switches, right? I know a lot of people go to Dr. Google, and there's tons of information on Google. Some of it helpful, some of it not so helpful. Some of it may be for you, some of it may not be for you. So again, all that is to say that it's important that you get the help, professional help that you need in making those decisions. Lakeisha, what do you think?
I think what you're admonishing is rightly so. we want persons, of course, we want persons to do their research, to be informed, to get information, but always respect those persons with the area of expertise, area of specialization and experience, right? And they do have a lot to offer, and they tend to usually have a very keen listening ear. And so you should not shy away from coming to such persons and seeking out guidance, because it can only help to build on all that you have already, all the knowledge that you have already obtained.
Right, right. Lakeisha, I don't know where the time has gone, but it's time for us to go. It's time for us to go. But I really wanted to say thank you. Thank you for accepting the invitation to come and to join us and sit with us and talk about nutrition and the importance of having good nutrition as we get ready to move our bodies, right? With the Let's Move TCI campaign. You will be joining us in another show. And in that show, we are going to be talking a little bit more about some of the, for lack of a better word, pitfalls of the TCI diet and how we can curb some of those pitfalls. But thank you so much again, Lakeisha, for joining us. Thank you to all of our viewers who have joined us from the beginning, those who tuned in maybe midway. Thank you so much. Again, you can drop your comments or questions in the comment section below, and we would do our best to get back to you with a response. Thank you, guys. This has been a pleasure. I have enjoyed myself talking and listening to Lakeisha. Lakeisha, I hope you enjoyed yourself as well. Did you?
I thoroughly enjoyed my time with you as always. And I must say that it was a great session. And I'm hoping that persons that were listening, that they felt the vibe, and they felt our zest and our interest, our love for nutrition.
Yes.
Have had kind of similar journeys, and I'm just happy that we are able to share this platform to help promote nutrition and help to educate and inform others about the basics and the principles of good nutrition.
Yes. Thank you so much. And as you said, it is a vibe, you know. I love talking about nutrition, and I really love just educating people, you know. Like, I think that's one of my passions in life, just educating people and helping people, you know, helping people to make better choices, whether it includes food or just, you know, overall life decisions. So thank you again, Lakeisha. We're going to be having you on another show, so we look forward to that show. Until next time, guys, have a great, healthy day. We'll see you later.